Hello, everybody. This is part 3 of 3 talking about my mama and her jobs and the things she did for others. Okay, Alberta Miller. Well, my mom was a boy mom, and that part of her, I don't know if I'm going to tell everything, but I will say this: she spoiled my brother to the highest level of spoil. And it's the reason today I'm glad I had daughters. Because if you got to spoil your sons like that, I ain't want none. I don't want none. Okay? Um, Me and my brother, 14 years apart. My mother had girls. And y'all know how it is when y'all want that boy. So her and my dad went on a cruise. hmm And they sold some royal oats, I guess, on the cruise. Okay? All right. And like, it's not like married people don't know what they doing anyway, but it was funny because you don't look at your parents as having sex. They never did that around us. Like, they was lovable, but they ain't never show us like, you know, now that you grown, you know what sex is like. You like, they ain't doing that. Oh yes, they was. Because here come my brother. Mind you, I'm 14 years old, okay? But nevertheless, my mother was a boy mom. She loved her son. She did everything she could for her son. And we're going to leave that conversation right there. My mother was a girl mom. She had 3 amazing daughters. And she loved her daughters. And she had to share her daughters with her husband. Because I remember holidays like Valentine's Day and stuff like that. My dad would come home with 4 boxes of candy and cookies and flowers, and my mother be looking at him like, well, what's different? But it was a difference. Her candy was bigger than ours. Her flowers was bouquets of roses, and we probably got 1 rose and a box of candy, but my dad never forgot about us. He was definitely a dad with girls, and he was a man who raised his daughters for the world. You hear me? And he would tell any man, if you can't take care of him like I can, leave him with me. He was that guy. And that was my mother's husband. My mother had a husband who spoiled her. My dad was a provider. He was a lover. He was a caregiver. He was her everything. I believe my mom and dad met when they were 16 years old in Sumter, South Carolina, at a bus station, at the bus stop with my auntie Juicy and my uncle Pep. My mom and her sister was getting on the bus, and my uncle Pep and my dad was getting on the bus too, down on Liberty Street going to Ebenezer in Sumter, South Carolina. And that's where they met, getting on the bus. That's the story I heard from my parents. And it never stopped until he proceeded in death and her. And my dad took care of not just me and my siblings. He took care of whoever he could take care of with the help of the good Lord. And he was that guy. And that's the type of husband my mother had. She had a provider. Yes, women was jealous of her because she had a husband who was a provider, a husband who looked good. She looked good. Her kids looked good. Yes. I seen my mom go through things with people, and I couldn't understand why my mom was still talking to them people or in the presence of them people. I'll never forget one story happened in Sumter, South Carolina after my dad died. And it was with my mom and a sibling. And I tell you what, my mom, I'll say this, and I'm not going to go into detail with the story, but my mother showed me what love really is. Now, I don't know if I got love like that today myself, but she showed me what a woman of God love really is. And I tell you what, and I'll never forget that day. My mom she taught me how to turn the other cheek, because I don't know if my mom was just that sophisticated and confident that she could turn the other cheek on people and really just act like they ain't never did nothing to her. I don't know if it was God. I don't know what it was, but my mother was that type of woman. She would literally turn the cheek on you and still be like, hey, like you ain't never did nothing to her. To this day, I don't understand that part of my mother. And I'm still in awe of that. Because, you know, in today's society, people don't do that. And my mom literally would turn the other cheek and act like you never did nothing to her. I mean, she was literally a confident woman. She knew who she was. And I would see all of this because I was the baby girl, am the baby girl, and I saw everything that I needed to see. You know, I had to, here I go, I'm having to ask God to forgive me for my thoughts of how I felt about people who treated my mama bad, and here she is eating lunch with them. Like it ain't never happened. I mean, my mom was phenomenal. I am so blessed. I'm going to end this part sessions, you know, with this last video, and I'm here to tell you that my mom was a mom that I will always keep talking about. She will always have legacy as long as I breathe. My children will always hear about her, my granddaughter. We will always talk about her in our house. We will always lift up her name to God. And I hope she will always continue to visit me when she visit me, how she visit me. She's with me every day. And I am my mother. And those of you who lost mothers, and you have something good in your heart that you can always keep to remember them by, I suggest you do that because it's a healing process. And just thinking of the good things will get you through. If you have bad things, I need you to go to God in prayer because sometimes people know not what they do, and my mom's clearly taught me that. A lot of people aren't taught to be a mother. A lot of people aren't taught to mother, parent, to be parenting. But I will say today, I thank God for my mother. I thank God for my mother, her whole life, her whole self, from the beginning to the very last day when I had to say goodbye to her. I thank God for my mother, Alberta Miller. Even on her, what I would call last words, last bed, last conversation, last everything, she was still mothering me. She was still mothering me. And she showed me one time that she was hurting. And I'm glad she showed me that because that let me know my mother really was a person because she was like a hero mom. So to see that she was a person that could hurt but still believe in God for what she was going through, I appreciated her for that day. And I knew that day that my mom was really, really hurting and in pain. And sometimes you need to see that. When moms be acting strong all the time, sometimes you need to see when they're not. And I thank her for showing me that. Because that let me know I can show my kids that sometime. It's okay. I love y'all, and y'all have a great Mother's Day 2024.